Remember, our 12 days of SwitchUp is going to be starting in December, well, the 12 days before Christmas, and we're going to be giving away a Nintendo Switch OLED that was given to us by a subscriber that wanted to remain anonymous, as well as some games that were given by someone else, another subscriber that wanted to remain anonymous. That's amazing. Make sure you're subscribed, hit the buttons and like things to show them that they're amazing. I should apologise in advance because these Black Friday sales have already started with a bang. What I will say is you can save even more money than this. You can use code SwitchUp over at switchup.gg, where you'll get 5% off instantly on your eShop credit, and you'll get 5% back in your own coins. And that doesn't stop you getting the normal Nintendo coins when you redeem your voucher. So you're getting like quite a bit of money off. I've got a few honourable mentions that I want to go through that aren't in the main list, and then there's also a game that you should definitely avoid at the end because it stinks. Alright, what are the best games on sale starting the Black Friday? Well, let's find out. First up, we've got Ys Origin, which is an old-school dungeon crawler set within a vast tower, and obviously based within the Ys universe. If you've played the other Ys games, like the legendary Ys 8, Ys 9, and the soon-to-release on Switch, Ys 10, well, it's from the same universe, but it might not have the same characters that you're used to. It has a top-down perspective, fast-paced action gameplay. It does get a little repetitive, but I actually love the storyline in this one. I did a full review of it. It's 70% off at the moment, and that's till December the 3rd. In the UK, we've got a nice chunky sale on SnowRunner, which is an amazing game. It really shouldn't be because it just features a load of different trucks, quite realistic simulations of mud and snow, and then loads of different missions. That's currently half price until December the 3rd. Another one that I've got a full review of. And then Skywalker Saga is 70% off. That's stupidly cheap for the best LEGO game, but it's easily one that adults can enjoy as well. You can play through the entire thing with a friend, and yeah, it's LEGO, it's Star Wars, happy days. First up, here in the EU regions, we have Disco Elysium at 70% off. I believe that's the cheapest it's ever been until December the 3rd, and it takes it down to £10.79. You take the role of Harry Dubois and his little detective friend, who are from two different police forces, and they're not entirely sure why they've been put together within this strange town called Martinez. It's a difficult game to describe. You're investigating a killing, and the way you go about doing that, well, it can range from your normal ask questions to the local inhabitants to getting absolutely smashed and going out to karaoke in the evening, followed by searching for invisible insects in the marshlands, and then having a rave up with a bunch of Germans inside a church. Yeah. If it sounds absolutely crazy, it definitely is, and it's one of my favourite games of all time. Definitely worth checking out the review if you're intrigued, and if you're in the EU region, you should pick it up. If you're in America, you can buy the physical at the moment at 33% off at Walmart. Next up then, we've got Dredge, which is down 25%. That's the cheapest that's ever been. This won a load of different awards. I think at the Game Awards it won a few different things. And it's like a Lovecraftian fishing adventure RPG. You go out in your boat, you investigate and gather different items and ingredients for people. And then when it gets dark, everything goes all twisted and weird and it becomes very difficult to get home and quite scary. But it has that like micromanagement of your ship aspect where you're juggling the ship's inventory and what you take out with you. Very fun indeed. Glen reviewed this one for us. The sale for that one though only goes on until November the 23rd. Now, one that I don't think I've ever mentioned in our sales series, and not a genre that I'm particularly well versed in, I guess is the best way of saying it, but I just enjoyed the game. It's SINE Mora Is, which is 85% off. That's a cracking price for a really nice shooter. Kind of reminded me of R-Type from back in the day, but looking a little bit nicer. There's tons of different power-ups. It's easy to pick up and play. While it potentially doesn't set the world on fire in terms of its gameplay, I did have a really good time with it, and for that price, I mean, yeah, an easy add to my collection. Then I'm really pleased to talk about Cocoon. Now, if you didn't realise, Cocoon was created from a very small team, 10 points to the person who can name their last big game. But this one sees you playing as an insect within a really strange universe that messes with scale and perspective. So you might jump into essentially a boss fight, and then when you die, the camera will kind of pan out and you'll almost be sucked out of that instance and the world will grow back around you. I mean, it's really difficult to explain. You can probably tell from the visuals on screen. It's got a lovely unique style. This is another one that's been massively critically acclaimed. To have a nice 20% discount already is, you know, an easy way to pick it up, but I'd happily be paying full price for this one. Now that sale goes on until December the 3rd. Certainly one to consider. Then we've got the Souls-like of the week. It's Hellpoint, which is a space-based Souls-like. But it's not, yeah, it is. It's based in space, isn't it? That's space-based. It doesn't sound right. I've been playing the what is it? The Dead Space remaster or remake or whatever it is. Man, it's such a good game. Such a good game. Love that. I got the platinum on the PlayStation back in the day. I was very proud of myself because I don't like scary games. But Hellpoint, very good. Enjoyed it a lot. They did do a lot of patchwork on it because it was a real dog's dinner when it released. But if you like Dark Souls, it's very easy to just pick up and play this one. That's currently 75% off. I would like to see the expansion. The other platforms had the expansion that came out, but I don't think the Switch has had it yet, which is a bit disappointing. But that sale goes on until December the 7th. Now, Sonic Frontiers. I was quite surprised to see this have a 60% discount. That's easily the cheapest it's ever been. This is another one where they've patched it continuously since it came out. This one seems to be a little bit like Marmite. There's some people that absolutely love the concept, you know, taking that almost Breath of the Wild style. I don't even want to say gameplay. Like, not even aesthetic, not even the way it looks. It's like the quietness. Like Breath of the Wild, when you're moving around and, you know, there's not music blaring all the time. You hear the environments. They kind of did that with Sonic. I actually think it's a really good game. I think some people have absolutely panned it just because it wasn't the Sonic they were expecting, but I enjoyed it a lot. So between the large frontier area that you can kind of run around in and do different things, you've also got the traditional style Sonic levels. Now weirdly, I think they actually used some of the levels that didn't do very well. Not that the levels didn't do well, but you know that the previous game that didn't do very well, I forget the name, was it Sonic Forces or something? But they actually like basically directly ripped off some of those and put those into this game. Now that's not necessarily a negative, because if you take the best ones and reuse them, then fair enough. But yeah, it's just an interesting little tidbit there, which reminded me of, what was it I was looking at on Twitter the other day? You know, like Disney, they used to use loads of the same animations in all different areas, like loads of different films, so you'd see literally the same movements, like the Jungle Book, and I can't remember what the other one was, but yeah, I'm completely going off the track, aren't I? Off-piste. But Sonic Frontiers at 60% off might be a good one to consider until December the 3rd. Now, Sifu, brilliant game. If you like your Jackie Chan films and your Bruce Lee, imagine a refined version of all the best movies put into a game, but with a really interesting mechanic so that every time you die, you get 1 year older. Now that might not sound that interesting. You're not going to be like busting around the levels in a Zimmer frame. But what does happen is certain physical attributes, certain skills, as you get older, you won't be able to do them. So things that require strength, you won't be as good at, but things that require wisdom, you'll become more proficient at. And if you put points into skills, you can unlock them, but if you put a ton of points in, you can permanently unlock them. So with a good bit of balance in, you can actually make your character an absolute beast by the time they're like 80. So yeah, very fun game, very difficult, there's no two ways about it, but it has a really nice timing and parry system and a real sense of style. The sale for Sifu goes on until December the 3rd. Then I believe No Man's Sky was nominated for an award at the Game Awards. Was it like Best Community Support? And if it doesn't win that, or if it, I mean, have I missed it? I don't think I've missed it, have I? But it should definitely win that. They have put out so many patches across 7-8 years, however long it's been, and then to release the Switch version and put so many new patches out specifically for that version just to get it working in a way that it shouldn't be. Like, it looks decent now. I think they added in FSR and it's just impressive. Yeah, really impressive. I think going into No Man's Sky, if you've not played it before, you need to realise that it's like a sandbox with some story and RPG elements in there if you want to look for them. But predominantly you're looking at a sandbox space simulator with an unlimited galaxy, an unlimited universe essentially. And you may come across things that other people have named and things like that, and you can name anything that you find and scan things and dig holes and build bases and just get lost in it really. If you're a space fan, which I absolutely love space, you can spend hundreds and hundreds of hours in here, and at half price, that's well worth it until December the 3rd. Now the hidden gem, it may not be a hidden gem for some of you, but it will for others. It's Bear and Breakfast. Now Bear and Breakfast, when it first came out, as I say so often, was a bit of a state. Like, it had a few performance issues, was a bit janky. They've patched it up as far as performance goes, but the control scheme would still take a bit of getting used to, and that's an understatement. Like, I know I saw in one comment someone was like, I just couldn't get past the control scheme. Fair enough. Basically, check out the full review because it will go over that. But the actual game and the premise is so good. You're like a little bear and you leave your house, say goodbye to your mum. You're like, see you later, mum. I'm going to go start a B&B. And you arrive at this old shack in the middle of the forest. And you take it over and you basically overhaul it. You can plan out the rooms. It feels like Theme Hospital, you know, the way you like drag the buildings or drag the rooms out, sorry. And then you can place items within them to improve their coziness and things like that. Eventually you can unlock a concierge that runs different establishments for you. And you'll have several different ones. You'll renew like an old garage. You go to a ski lodge up north and you can kind of to have that running as well. I love this game. I think it's absolutely brilliant. For me, it just ticks so many boxes. I used to get lost in those like theme games when I was a kid, and yeah, this just ticks so many boxes despite the rubbish control system. Sorry developers, the controls are rubbish. Despite that, there's still so much fun to be had here. Now, Bear and Breakfast is 35% off, the cheapest it's ever been. One of the most addictive games I've played in a long time, and that's until December the 3rd. Now, last but not least then, we've got Ghostbusters Remastered, which is 75% off. I hadn't played the original Ghostbusters, the video game, so playing the remaster for me was like, well, I don't know what it was like. I enjoyed the game. I thought it was very fun. Now, obviously, Glen is a huge Ghostbusters fan. These really do justice to the original films, and I think it was almost designed as like a continuation of the story. It's almost like the next film, and in that regard, it just does such a good job with storytelling. You whip on your proton pack and you go out and capture different ghosts. Obviously, you've got Slimer in there as well. The one thing about this, which made no sense to us, was that it didn't use gyro controls. Now, I know, Mark, you don't need gyro everywhere. Yeah. my tombstone's gonna be like, here lies Mark Walker. He loved gyro. But seriously, like, this is a game that it would work well on, and I believe, was it on the Wii U or the Wii? It was the Wii U. It used motion aiming, so it's like, why didn't you just take that code and plug it into... I mean, you can see I'm not a developer, can't you? But I think it could have worked. Now, Ghostbusters Remasters, as I say, 75% off, ridiculously cheap, until December the 3rd. So just when you think there can't be much more, now we've got 6 different Savaloy games, which are less than about £3.50. Slight inflation because it's Christmas time and the goose is getting fat, but still very cheap games, very, very good. Followed by the game that you should avoid, and we're going to add in an indie spotlight as well. It's a nice big festive episode, this one. So let's get through those Savaloys then, or Fetcook. First up, we've got The Last Campfire, created from the same team that made No Man's Sky, Hello Games, or at least one of their subsidiaries. That's 85% off, a lovely little adventure. Straight off the back of that, you've got Enter the Gungeon, one of the best roguelites of all time. You can play this one solo or with a friend. It's all about the guns, it's all about kicking over furniture and hiding behind it, and then dying in an almost bullet hell shooter style. That's 70% off until December the 3rd. Chris Tales is an excellent RPG. I think it's massively underrated. The problem I have with this are random battles. That really gets on my goat. Gets on my goat? Like... That doesn't sound right, but I'm going with it. It really gets on top of my goat. But at 90% off, that takes it down to a ludicrous price. Like, this is ridiculous. I'd be adding this to my collection just to look at the thumbnail and go, I paid like three quid odd for that. Thanks very much. But yeah, check out the full reviews if you want to see more about that one. Broken Sword 5, I mentioned it a couple of weeks ago. Now it's down 95%. It's like a quid, just over a quid for one of the best point-and-click games that we've got on Switch. Yes, please. Thank you very much. Rock of Ages 3 is ridiculous. Imagine, what's the film where he does the weird walk in it? Oh, not 40 Towers, is it? No. Oh my goodness. You know, with like The Life of Brian and all of that. Monty Python. Yes. It's like Monty Python with physics-based boulders, and you've got to break things. It's absolutely bonkers. But for 90% off, I mean, it's a good, not for 90% off, but it's worth buying regardless. But at 90% off, yes please. Then you've got Ash of God's Redemption, which is, I love these style of games. I really do. They combine that almost Banner Saga style artwork with tactical turn-based battles. The problem with Ash of Gods was the translation was just a bit janky. There's no two ways around it. Eventually the story does come together and it's okay, but the translation was, yeah, it just wasn't quite there. But at 91% off, it can be there, certainly. Yes, please, I'll take it. And you can have a dictionary as well. And that'll still only cost you about £5. Thanks very much. We do have our Avoid and our Indie Spotlight still to go. Now, the Avoid game is the recently released Avatar insert subtitle that I can't remember. It was the new Avatar game. Now, Avatar has a massive community. There are loads of us that would have loved to have seen them finally do justice to the series, and they completely ballsed it up. It's a mess. It's so bad. It feels like you got your PlayStation 2, you put one of the worst games in, and then I don't know. I don't know how can we make that worse. It's just bad. Like, the mechanics are so dated. You can imagine the dev team making this and going, like going to the boss and going, look, I gotta be honest with you, I don't think this is fun. And he's like, no, it'll be fine. And they just kept developing it, and eventually they come out with this absolute trash, and it got destroyed. I think I gave it like 38%, 36%, something like that. And I feel like I was being nice. Yeah, really just terrible. So avoid that one that's currently on sale. And now, Indie Spotlight goes to the excellent Islets. This is 40% off from a very, very small team indeed. And it was just really nice talking to these guys. They didn't have high expectations for how it was going to do. It's a Metroidvania. And I said to him, look, I've got to be honest, this is really good. Like, I'm really enjoying this game. There are a few little quirks here and there, but for the size of the team, I think they did a brilliant job. And like so many indies before them, they actually took the time afterwards to patch it up and add little bits and bobs in, and I got all the time in the world for that. So yeah, if you like a little to support an indie, then check out Islets. That one goes on sale until December the 3rd. So that's it. Save yourself 10% on any of these sale games. Use code SwitchUp over at switchup.gg. If you want to buy physicals, you can use code, SwitchUp23, something like that, over at PlayAsia. And we get a tiny little kickback from anything you use. There's also Joy-Cons and all that stuff in there. We've got our 12 days of SwitchUp starting soon, which is going to obviously, well, we're going to be giving away a Nintendo Switch OLED, which is ludicrous. And that was given to the channel to give to you. And we've also got some games to give away that were given to the channel to give to you, and they're people that don't want to be named because they just want to be nice. Now that is awesome.